guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. We're coming off of Thanksgiving, and our members and experts had a ton to be thankful for last week. Let's get to the winners. In the NBA streets, Ash Frank NFL won $1,500. NYG fan used AP's heat map to win $1,800. D-Rex26 hit for $4,500, and new subscriber Tom hit for $15K. Fur PBC shipped for $33K, while the Man 11 had yet another huge payday, shipping for $100,000. RPS continues to dominate all sports, including World Cup soccer. Our team has been crushing it with the content, and we have the receipts to prove it. Go Boys 18 hit for $1K. New member Wes Ray won over $1,300. Jaime's content helped Poker Pastor get through a tough time, hitting for $2K. Big T won over $20K. Rubio's hard work grinding out soccer content paid off with a $20K shipper. Well, the biggest winner was RPS member Eddie, who turned $500 into over $30,000. Our NFL content has been on fire all season, and we didn't let the Thanksgiving holiday slow us down. We have plenty of free content available on our YouTube channel daily, so make sure to subscribe right now to access the winners. DK for 5 hit big on Thanksgiving, winning $10K. C Jacobs 986 joined him, shipping for $15K. On the main slate, Racing Jason 910 hit for over $6K. LT Dog 24 shipped for $50K, while my own heater continued, winning my first FFWCC. For Showdown, our guy Hoop was a big winner, shipping for over $100K across sites. He used his core plays laid out for our premium members, including a low-owned Jelani Woods, who ended up breaking the slate. Shout out to YGuy223, who won over $9K as well. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
Friday means it's a cash show. Holden here, Hoop, Mangone. Lots going on pre-show, too. We're talking about a possible toilet bowl, Zonovan or Zonathan. We don't know which one, but one of the two is going to start for the Jets in all likelihood this weekend with Michael Carter doubtful. NFL lottery system. Drew Brees was not hit by lightning. I really didn't get into that story too much. I just saw a tweet where he was apparently thought to have been hit by lightning, but he wasn't. And then I want to talk to you guys about the Thursday Night Football crew. But talk to me here, guys. Mangone is very locked in. You guys both have the same exact shirt on. One's a hoodie, one's a shirt. Kind of look like the twins. What's on your mind this morning, Hoop? I just laid out a lot of things for us to talk about.
Yeah, I really wasn't paying attention. I pulled a Holden. I wasn't listening to.
I don't blame you. I would have too.
Yeah, the lottery
can we hold on before I get to you, Mangone? I mean, you are struggling, dude. We've had 3 yawns, 2 eye rubs. What's going on here, buddy? Do you need some coffee?
I mean, I was hooping last night. I'm tired. That's all. I played a lot the past couple of days.
Would you play till 2 a.m?
Till 11, I was out. So yeah, I was, and then I went to In-N-Out. I went to the In-N-Out, not too far from your house, not next to your house, but close enough where you never know if you'll be lurking, but. Yeah, I just was a little bit of a long night, but got to get up and we got to grind this week, right? The weekend's a grind, Holden. We got college football tomorrow. We got the championship weekend. We got NFL. So
soccer,
trying to get going. Yeah, we got soccer. I did wake up to put in one lineup for that. That was the struggle. I woke up to try and figure out what value plays I was playing, and then I said I'll figure the rest out later. So. Yeah, it's been a tough morning so far, but we're gonna get things right. We got the cash stuff to talk about. We have a fun NFL weekend too. Like, I mean, we talked about this on Wednesday, Holden. Like, you were excited to talk about football games because the last couple of weeks it was not fun to talk about those football games.
This 4 o'clock slate is remarkable, and we'll talk about that when it comes to cash. Hoop, did you get a call from the Ayatollah thanking you for your support of the Iranian football team?
Oh gosh. So what's the status now? So what, they go on to what, the
We
final
got another
16
game
or
against the
something?
Netherlands. It's called the knockout round. 16 teams left. We're
Okay,
one of
so
them.
they should lose that, right? Netherlands favored.
We're throwing some money on the money line. Me and the Tone Dog were talking about that. We'll see if they can get to the round of 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wait for this thing to be over. Long
I
story
know.
short, I mean, it's just not my thing.
I
Definitely
just
not
put
my
it on in
thing.
the background. That's it. It's background noise, like baseball during the summer. It's on in the background. It's nice.
I haven't
Then
watched
you
the
can hear the
second half.
guy go like this. He scored a goal. What'd you say, Mango?
I haven't watched the second either. So
Yeah, I know you haven't. You guys are just not it. Last thing for and I threw this out. I didn't think you get any traction. I really didn't even care. But Al Michaels sounds like he's dead, guys. Like at this point, the games are rough to watch on Thursday Night Football, but the broadcast makes it worse. I mean, in all seriousness, this is one of the worst broadcast teams out there. Al Michaels is one of the greatest broadcasters in the history of the world. He's slurring. He doesn't seem like he's excited about any of these games. He has no chemistry with Herb Street. Herb Street's a college guy. Herb Street's a great analyst, but the guy is not an NFL guy. Maybe it's just my bias, but either one of you enjoy what's going on here Thursday Night Football with the broadcast team, because I think it's time for Al Michaels to say goodbye, and they got to get Herb Street out of there too.
Yeah, I prefer him in college format for sure. I don't really pay again. I just fast forward through these football games and primetime games. Like on Amazon Prime, I just watch the plays. Like I don't listen to any of the bullshit in between. I usually start the games an hour or hour and a half after they start, and just like fast forward on my tablet through the games and don't listen to any of the bullshit. I do that for Sunday night. I do that for Monday night as well. I just can't. The football games, there's too many breaks. I mean, a team gets the ball three and out, punt, commercial. Team gets it back, maybe picks up 1 first down, then they punt, they go to commercial, injury, commercial, 2-minute warning commercial. I can't deal with it, man. Like I just don't have the patience. So I don't listen to any of the bullshit from the commentators. I don't even know, besides Herbstreit. I know he's there, and like I said, I prefer him on college opposed to NFL, but I avoid all that crap.
If you got a primetime sweat, you're not watching it.
At the end of the game, I will, like, because I get caught up. I got it timed pretty perfectly where I end up, at the end of the game, I'm caught up on it, and I'm watching the last, few minutes live. But first half, like I'm not there until halftime, essentially starting the game.
Shout out to Hoop too. Helped me win some money on that NBA slate on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I decided to listen. Yeah. That core was ridiculous.
It was on fire. It was super annoying too. I mean, I told you about it. The core was absolute fire. I saw the team that won the Millie. I think it had all the guys in it. And my son had basketball practice. I knew I wasn't going to be around right at lock time. So I was like, I barely played that slate. And that team, it had all the guys in it that would have won the fucking million. So I was super, super tilted. But for the members, it was good. I know a lot of people absolutely smashed with that core.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I actually listened to Tony on the Up to Lock show because there was a Millie out there and he decided that he wanted to be a part of the show before like 10 minutes before it was over. So that was great too. Final countdown. Mangone had a big hit earlier in the week too. So we continue to roll here at RPS. Even the host is winning money. It's wonderful. Hit a like button for us. I'll call it a fun button. It's so much fun to hit it. Do that. We don't like do we do plays of the week on Cab? We really don't do that. But Helmet was coming up with this new strategy where we hold stuff out that if we get the likes or something like that, we give it out. But everybody's watching this on tape delay or whatever the hell it is. So we'll just go on, say hit the like. Everybody have a good time. So let's get into this slate here, Hoop. As Mangone and I were talking, like the 4:00 slate is just insane. We got Miami, San Francisco, KC, Cincinnati, Chargers, Raiders, and that doesn't mean that that's how we're going to build our cash teams. But can you talk about the slate for a second? Because boy, it's spectacular, just up and down,
loaded up every position. I mean, we'll get into it when we talk. I mean, I'm kind of started working on the playbook this morning, and for quarterbacks, I usually put 5-6 quarterbacks in there. Like, man, I had to extend it a little bit. There's a lot of guys in play this week for cash games and tournaments at basically every position. It is loaded. I mean, every position you got guys at the top that you can pay up for. There's mid-tier options and there's cheap options as well. So it's going to be from a tournament perspective, I think this is probably one of the more exciting weeks. I think you can definitely count on ownership getting spread out in tournaments for sure. But obviously we'll cover all that stuff as we get closer to Sunday here. We're, looking to talk cash, and this is probably the most wide open week I'd say that we've had in a while in terms of cash games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Mangone, again, these big afternoon games are sensational. It's not like we're taking out the early games this week, but this is a slate to get excited about. We're coming off a week. Last week was probably the best week of football to this point, right? And now we get to back it up with this.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week. I'm excited to see how it shakes out. I think there's going to be some obvious games you're going to go to. There's going to be some good ones early you can go to. There's going to be some late ones you can go to. And you could be backloaded a little bit. I was kind of wondering that too. I was like kind of curious. I was like, is this going to be like a full, like you're just kind of sitting there with only like maybe one guy going, just because there are a lot of really good games. But overall, there's a lot to talk about here. A lot of good tight ends are pretty solid this week. Quarterback, pretty solid. Different routes you can go. Receiver, we got value at the running back that we'll talk about that just opened up recently. So a ton to talk about.
All right, very good. Let's get rolling, boys. We'll start a quarterback here. Hoop, Mahomes is up top. I don't know if we need to spend up at 8-3, but he's in a pretty nice spot too. Hurts, Burrow, Lamar. We got the big guys on the slate now outside of Josh Allen. So talk to me here. Do we want to start by looking at the top, or do we go down to guys like Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, it's a very, I guess, dynamic position. I mean, the guys at the top look nice. I mean, Jalen Hurts is rushing the ball just an incredible amount. I mean, what is it, like 16 and 17 rushes, I believe, in his last two starts? Yeah, 16 and 17 rush attempts. Like that is huge. The price tag's $8K. Can we get there? Do we need to get there in cash? Yeah, I don't know. My initial lean right now this week is probably to just go a little bit cheaper. There's some really solid running back plays I want. There's some wide receivers I want. So my initial lean out of the gate here is probably avoid this top tier, which could be painful because Hurts could go for 40. Mahomes could get there as well. But probably not going to be playing those guys in cash this week. Deshaun Watson, I think, is an interesting option here. I mean, he comes back, gets this dream matchup, revenge spot as well. Probably more of a tournament play. The guys I'm looking at for cash games are a little bit cheaper. And I think the first one is going to be Geno Smith at 6.1K. Just been so steady, man, like all season long. And he's just been, in terms of where his price has been all season long, I'd say like the most steady fantasy option. You look at the last 4 weeks, 19, 21, 20, 24 and a half, essentially. And the price doesn't budge. He's 6.1K. They're big favorites here. They should put up some points against the Rams. So I think he's an option for cash. But my favorite is going to be Trevor Lawrence. He gets just this dream matchup against the Lions. He's looked good the last couple weeks. In a dome here, the total's nice and big. The total is sitting at 51. Basically a pick 'em. I think this could be an explosion game back and forth. I don't even mind Goff if you want to go Goff at 5-3 if you need the savings. I'd prefer Lawrence, but I'd be fine going Goff. I think for cash games, I want one of those guys in that game as my quarterback. My strong lean is Lawrence. I really like Trevor Lawrence this week. I think it's just an explosion spot for him and the offense. Price is fair at 5.9K. Total's big in this game. Lions play no defense. They're in a dome. Everything is just, lining up perfectly for him. So I think at this point in the week, Trevor Lawrence is my preference. But again, it's a wide pool of guys you can consider. Let's say we get some more elite value. Sounds like we got a piece, here not too long ago, and your guy Zonovan Knight with Michael Carter out. If we get a ton of this really good value, then maybe we, reconsider the Jalen Hurts of the world and, Patrick Mahomes. But at this point in the week, I'm leaning heavy on Trevor Lawrence as the cash game quarterback.
You know what, Mangone, you were saying this earlier in the week when we talked on Wednesday, and you liked Trevor Lawrence then. Do we start with Trevor Lawrence this week, or did the position change a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't love him. I mean, I think he's a really good play. I think if I had to pick the one guy I love, it's Joe Burrow. I think at 6'9" is my favorite right now. It depends, right? Like, because it's like a sliding scale, right? You could have it where it's like, okay, like, is Joe Burrow worth it at 6'9", or do I need $1,000 to get the Trevor Lawrence? I'm not saying it's just like, hey, the guy I'm definitely going, no doubt, is Joe Burrow and he's the best play, but I think he's a really good play. He's going to be one that I want to kind of get into my lineups, but I'm willing to sacrifice at the quarterback position to a Trevor Lawrence, who's in a good matchup, like Hoop said, and everything. I don't think I'd be willing to go down to a Goff. I think that'd be tough. Gino is fine, but I think I would just lean Lawrence. But especially if you've been like playing Gino, it's just been working out for you. I totally understand it. Like, so I get that. I do think Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, if we get the value, that's going to be an interesting conversation to have. And I figure we should just have it right now. Man, I think my lean would be Mahomes. I just think this Cincinnati KC game is going to shoot out. Like, I'm just in the camp of it's going to just go off. It's going to have a lot of scoring, and I kind of just want a piece of it. So I would likely lean to go Mahomes because I don't know what other pieces I'm getting on the Kansas City side if I don't go Mahomes, right? So for me, it's really trying to decide Burrow or going Mahomes, because when we get to the position players, we're not going to talk about a lot of these guys in cash games because they're not as easy to get to. So it is kind of a way that I'm trying to get exposure to that game. But it's one of those two guys. I think Burrow's probably my number one. If I get Mahomes, that'd be great. If not, then it's Trevor Lawrence for me.
So we got contrasting builds then. We got a little pay up action there and then a little Trevor Lawrence on the other side. We'll see the route that these guys could get to. Like button would be wonderful. Helps us with an algorithm. I don't know what that means. But it's good for us, which means it's good for you. If you haven't checked out runpuresports.com, maybe you're like, oh, I got to take a little time off. Time to subscribe. Get back in there. World Cup. Guys have been crushing it. Rubio, Fallick, Tony, the rest of the boys. Amazing work there. Video games. All the ancillary sports. MMA. Stuff like that. Mangone, sorry to bore you, but I'm going to keep up with our thing here. We've also got NFL for what? 7 more regular season weeks, and we'll go all the way through the Super Bowl. Showdowns have been so profitable. Another great showdown slate last night. Thank you, Big T, for throwing your player pool and out there. I had a very good night again. What else we got, boys? NBA, NHL, any sport that you really could play DFS, we got somebody for it. So sign up, runpuresports.com. Let's get to our next position. This will be running back. So what are we doing here, Hoop? This is fascinating this week. You got Eckler, Jacobs, Henry, all in terrific spots. Kenny Walker still sitting there at 7K. Boy, there's a lot up top. Can you just talk about up top first and how many of these guys you would think you'll have in cash?
Yeah, with the Michael Carter news, probably, not as many cash game considerations up here. If I were to play any of these guys, it would be Austin Eckler. I mean, that the pass catching role is absolutely insane. 11 receptions last game. He had the one against KC that wasn't great, but 12, 8, 12, 16 receptions. I mean, the floor is just massive for Austin Eckler. So if coming up top, it is Austin Eckler. In tournaments, I don't mind the McCaffrey stuff. I mean, you guys were talking about it before, where what they said, what's the guy's name in San Fran? They're talking about
in San Francisco.
San Fran, yeah.
And they get upset when you say that, by the way. Jordan Mason.
Yeah. So it could just end up being a McCaffrey week where he just gets the work. I mean, it's a big game for them. They're going to want to win this one, obviously. So I wouldn't be shocked if just McCaffrey got all the work. So I'm going to definitely play him in tournaments. But in terms of cash games, up top, I think Eckler is the undoubtedly best play. The role is just insane. Then you have Josh Jacobs. I mean, man, didn't play him. I think I cut him last week out of my player pool. A mistake, obviously, because you needed him to win anything because he absolutely torched the slate. There's a guy you just got to consider, I think, almost every week. The workload's insane. I mean, 33 carries, 39 touches last week. That's wild. So he needs to be on the radar as well. But again, I don't think we necessarily get all the way up here. So start coming down a little bit. You said you wanted me to hit the top. Is it all right if I, come down a little bit here?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Kenneth Walker, 7K. I think fine price tag, not going to be like a building block type play, but if I get Kenneth Walker, I'd feel pretty good about that. They are 7-point favorites against just a dead Rams team. I mean, the Rams team is dead right now. Aaron Donald ruled out as well. Be fine getting him. The big injury news, which I think goes our way, ETN, listed as questionable. Had the injury last week, returned to the sidelines, looked like he was good to come back in the game. He's been practicing in a limited fashion all week. If he's ruled a full go here, 6.4K, absolute steal for him in this matchup against Detroit. So he would be a core cash play if we get the news that he's good to go, which I do think we end up getting. Coming down, Jeff Wilson Jr. disappointed in, I guess, arguably, when you consider his price tag, probably the best spot all season long for a running back. I mean, that spot last week was just phenomenal for him against Houston. 14-point favorites. Just didn't get the job done and got injured along the way, but did salvage the week a little bit because he found the end zone. The matchup this week, not as good, but the workload is going to continue to be there. Moderate interest in him, probably a little bit less because of the Carter news. We have some cheap guys, though, some very cheap guys. It is Najee Harris, not likely to play, right? He didn't practice on Thursday. Yeah, so with him, Jalen Warren, 4.9K. Good matchup in a dome for him. He looked really good prior to his injury. Should get a majority of the work here. So Jalen Warren at 4.9 is a guy to consider. And then our guy Zonovan, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's not Zonathan, it's Zonovan.
Yeah, Zonovan. Nice.
You can call him Zonathan if you want to, but it's Zonovan.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll roll with that.
4.6K.
Looked good last week. 14 carries, 3 receptions. I think pretty good matchup here. I could see this game going back and forth a little bit. 4.6K. So, with this injury stuff, we end up probably saving salary at this position in cash games, which, again, could bring us back to that quarterback conversation. Like, okay, do we have enough to get to a Jalen Hurts? Well, if you play Jalen Warren and you play our guy Zonovan Knight, you have a lot of salary savings, and there are cheap guys at wide receiver. So I guess, now that we start to talk through this a little bit, I think there are routes where you can pay up at quarterback. These cheap running backs are strong plays this week. And at least one of them, I think Jalen Warren and Knight are a guy that you definitely want to play in your lineups. Again, if I'm spending up, it's definitely Austin Eckler. I mean, the role for him is just insane. And then there's some guys in the middle.
Let me ask you about
Kenneth
ATM
Walker. Yeah, if he's in, I think you play him.
Yeah, and they just said Peterson just came out and said he's good to go for Sunday.
Okay, then yeah, he's probably a core play this week. I mean, I want as much exposure to that game as possible.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's got to be a game stack if you're playing tournaments this week. There's just got to be.
Yep.
There. So Mangone, a lot going on at running back, buddy. Can you give me a little plan of attack first? Like, is it to get one of these big guys and pair it with the lower price guys? What do you have to do at running back and cash this week?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's some good spend ups this week. Like, if you want to spend, like, there's guys, and you got to make some decisions. You're not just going to be like, oh, this is a clear cut guy. I mean, if I had to pick the guy, it's probably Eckler against the Raiders. You know how bad the Raiders have been, and like Eckler isn't even like really a running back right now. It's like he's more of a receiver. It seems like it's crazy. The attempts he gets is just some, like last week, he got 5 attempts, but like the dude put up 25 DK points. So I think Eckler, definitely a good play. You can make the case then for Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb, and you can even make the case for Barkley with his volume. But the matchups for Henry against Philadelphia is good. They could be trailing, though, which is a concern. Nick Chubb, though, he seems like the next best guy, you'd say, at 8K there. You could make an argument for a Josh Jacobs. I think it's 7.9K. The only thing about Jacobs is he is a little banged up, but I kind of said it last week. Jacobs and Adams, they have a condensed, just share of targets or volume. And one of them basically goes for 30 every week. Josh Jacobs was last week. Who knows? Maybe it's Jacobs again this week. Maybe it's Adams this week that has the big game. It's against the Chargers. I expect it to be competitive, so I'm sure one of them will probably have a pretty good game. Not that excited about Joe Mixon at 7-1. I just think, and I mean, with concussions these days, right? Like the way the concussions are, I think they're going to be a little more cautious with some players sometimes. Like they're not going to be like, yeah, it's a concussion, you're fine. Well, we kind of saw some of that Tua stuff, and I think you could see the way P. Ryan's playing too. They like P. Ryan. It's not like he's just some absolute like clown out there. P. Ryan, they literally gave him the ball in the Super Bowl a ton. Like it's like, and we were all just like yelling at our TVs, like, why is P. Ryan playing more than like not more than Mixon, but as much as he was? It was just insane. So I think P. Ryan is going to be involved enough where Mixon is not a cash game play this week. At least that's just my opinion on it. I understand if you think he is, but I can't get it. I can't get there. I'd rather go to Kenneth Walker at 7K against like, a lame duck team that's just mailing it in the Rams. I mean, this is the perfect spot for someone like Kenneth Walker to just run all over them all game long. So I think Kenneth Walker, good play at 7K. If Etienne is in there, you could make the case that he's a pretty good play against Detroit. I mean, Detroit is a matchup that we love to target. My only issue is how hurt is this guy, right? Will they use Hasty a little bit? That's something I'm definitely going to think about when rostering my players, but he is only 6.4K. Definitely seems like an interesting spot to go to him. David Montgomery at 6.2. He does get the Packers. It sounds gross, but the Packers are a team you can just run all over. So not going to take David Montgomery out of the discussion. But the one thing I want to mention with David Montgomery is when you have a good week of running backs, like if we start to gain like a lot more value, Montgomery's one of those first guys out, right? The reason you're playing him and he becomes chalky on some of these weeks is because you just need a volume back, right? And it's like a volume back in a good spot and you don't have a lot of value. So that's when he kind of can emerge as an option. So yeah, just kind of want to call that out there. Dameon Pierce, I know we've been playing him, but at 5'9", yes, he's a volume guy, but I don't know if it's the week to go to him. I get it. But I think they're just going to get ran all over and they're going to be trailing. It's just not going to be a great script for him. I think Isaiah Pacheco, if you want to get exposure to this KC game, I think that's one way you can go about it at 5.7K. You are not getting the volume you are with some of these other running backs, though, so that's one concern. But that price tag of 5.7 is good. It should be in a game where the touchdown equity is good as well. Obviously, touchdown equity is nice on FanDuel, so that's something to look at with Pacheco over there. So have to like that. Brian Robinson Jr. at 5.3. We know his volume has been pretty good for a lot of the season. Last 4 games, 13, 26, 15, 18. Now gets the New York Giants. Giants are not a team that's good against the run. So I think that's another spot that we take a chance on. And I know Gibson didn't practice on Thursday. So if Gibson doesn't play or practice on Friday, this could just be his entire backfield. And he'll be one of the better value plays here on the slate. And then your boy, Mr. Zonovan Knight, as you've talked about, Holden, he's 4.6K. He'll definitely be in the conversation. I mean, saw 3 targets last week, 14 attempts. Young player, also playing with Mike White, which is obviously, good for some of the running backs with the volume that they can see in the pass game on the short A-dot throws. And they go against the Vikings. And it's in a dome. It's just everything aligns. The Vikings are not a good defense. Not saying they're not a good football team, but they're not a good defense. That defense is one you can just throw all over. You can run all over if you like. Mac Jones was out there looking like he was, Peyton Manning. So obviously, you got to put Zonovan Knight here in this conversation, some of these Jets players. So overall, there's a lot of different routes you can go this week, Holden. And we're still waiting on some news to kind of figure it all out. But seems like we're going to have some value at the running back position, which will help open up some other spots. Maybe it opens up grabbing one of these top-end running backs that we talked about. That's pretty good. Maybe it opens up one of these top-end receivers or two because, hey, there's a lot of good top receivers to talk about this week.
So I think there's going to be a whole bunch of Zonovan Knight going forward. It's a high ankle sprain for Carter. So this is probably going to be a multi-week injury, and we'll see how Knight steps. Doesn't this happen every year, though? It's like guys on the practice squad, no one's talking about them all season long. Boom. All of a sudden they're meaningful. All right. That was the running back position. So we still got wide receiver, tight end. We don't mess with defense here on the show. How about a thumbs up? That would be really, really nice of you. And then if you want to leave a comment after the show, something very, very nice about us, that would be good too. A lot of people in the chat today. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. And of course, our boy Don Yeezy is hanging out with us. Gus Bus 5-4 on DK. Be interesting. That's interesting. But what's his name? Dobbins could be back here. So
yeah, not for cash this week.
Not for cash.
There's like 10 good running back plays. Yeah.
Yeah. Too many good running back plays. Wide receiver then. So Amon-Ra's in a smash spot. We love that game hoop. Justin Jefferson for cash. I don't know if that really makes sense. Adams, Hill, Jamar Chase, who's been barking a lot this week. Higgins. What's the plan of attack here at wide receiver? Are we paying up for one of these big guys?
Potentially. I mean, I think when it's all said and done, you're going to be able to have one pretty solid spend up, whether it's a wide receiver or a running back, kind of depends. I mean, Austin Eckler versus some of these wide receivers, pretty tough decision. I mean, these wide receivers are phenomenal plays. The one I will say right out of the gate, I mean, I think you just play Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially, if you are going to play like Trevor Lawrence or Goff as your quarterback, just play St. Brown. I mean, you don't necessarily have to worry about correlation in cash games, but if you can, I mean, for me personally, if I can do it, I will. And I know I'm probably playing one of those quarterbacks in cash games. So St. Brown's going to be the first guy I put in. I think the price is bad for him on DK. They continue to underprice him. 7.1K. The role's phenomenal. The game's phenomenal. The environment's phenomenal, and everything points to St. Brown. So I'll be playing him. So that's one guy I'm playing for sure. And then, man, like Christian Kirk or Zay Jones, I want to play one of those guys as well. Zay Jones' role has been phenomenal all season long. Christian Kirk, 6'3", I think great price tag for him. Zay Jones, 4'9". So my path starts to get pretty narrow because I'm playing one of those quarterbacks in this game. I'm playing St. Brown and I'm playing a Jacksonville wide receiver. So then I'm left with essentially one more spot at wide receiver, and there's a ton of options. If I want to go up top, I mean, Devontae Adams for cash games, I think is probably my favorite up there at 8-7. Massive targets, started out slow last week, then still gets like 7 for 80 yards or whatever it ended up being. I think like Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, all really, really good tournament plays. I think really, really solid tournament options this week. Another cash guy, Keenan Allen, 6'5". I'm definitely good with that. I mean, really strong first half, and then the Chargers kind of went a little conservative, a lot of dump offs to Eckler. Didn't really do anything in the second half, but man, 6'5" on DraftKings for Keenan Allen in a game that, what's that total, like 50 or something? It's got to be up there.
It's high.
Yeah, right around 50. So I like Keenan Allen. And then Garrett Wilson at 5.3K with Mike White. I mean, he looked really, really solid last week. So he's another option to consider. But for me, as it stands this week, this is probably the cleanest position for cash games. I'm playing St. Brown. I'm playing one of those Jacksonville wide receivers. Then I'm going to see what I can get. Can I get Devontae Adams? Can I, do I have to settle on Keenan Allen? Do I need the savings to go down to Garrett Wilson? So it's only like 5 or 6 guys really that I'm considering in cash games at wide receiver. But St. Brown, I think you just play him this week. It's a dumb price tag.
Mango, 2 guys, St. Brown, and then he talked about Garrett Wilson too at 5'3". Do we trust Garrett Wilson at 5'3" this week?
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson at 5'3" is definitely in the conversation. He was a good play last week. I think people got off him last week because of the way some of the news shook out, where Michael Carter then became the chalk. He wasn't as chalky as I thought he was going to be, and mainly because I think people were worried about the weather, and Michael Carter news kind of shifted you to play Carter over a Garrett Wilson. Didn't mean he was a bad play last week. He definitely crushed and was in a good spot. Do think he's in a good spot here again. I talked about not liking that Minnesota defense, so definitely a value play that you want to get in there. But if you do play, let's say you do play Garrett Wilson at your receiver spot, well, you do start running out of spots to, get some receivers in. If you have a ton of value, right? If you get like Robinson and Zonovan Knight and you get like one more value, well, it could turn out like last week where it's like, okay, like I like Garrett Wilson, but I got money to spend, right? And I can go up a little bit higher. But let's talk about some of these guys up top, because I think Garrett Wilson is currently a staple in cash games, but curious to see how kind of like this news all shakes out, because that could really change if people go in, because they might say, hey, Garrett Wilson or like some of these other guys in the 6 and 7K range. So Justin Jefferson, obviously a good play at 8.9K. It's a good play every single week. We know that. Tyreek Hill against San Francisco, I don't mind him here in this spot. I do think it's going to be a pretty competitive game between both these teams. I think you're going to see Miami throwing a ton. I think you'll see like basically a good back and forth interacting game. So you can always argue for Tyreek Hill in that environment. But man, I mean, Devontae Adams at 8-7, what he can do for you at 8-7 with like just them having no one. I mean, the targets 17, 14, 13, 11. I mean, you could argue last week, 11 targets, 7 receptions for like 74 yards. That just feels like his floor at this point. I mean, it's stupid. So Devontae Adams, definitely someone at 8-7 that I'm interested in. Jamar Chase, keeping him strictly to tournaments. You do not know how much he's going to play. Do not play him in cash games. That's too risky in my opinion. AJ Brown, 7.8K against the Titans in a little bit of a revenge game. I think he's fine, but I don't think he's the cash guy. I think there's better cash game receivers Waddle, more of a tournament play. T. Higgins, 7-2. If we do get word for some reason Jamar Chase's like snaps are going to be like limited to any degree, T. Higgins, I think, enters the conversation again. Jamar Chase is a full go. Harder to play T. Higgins at that 7-2 price tag, which makes him a great tournament play for sure. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7.1K against Jacksonville. I think it's a really good spot. Obviously, if you do decide to play Trevor Lawrence, you get that like little bit of correlation. I hope the game shoots out a bit with St. Brown there at 7-1. And we know how good his role has been. And I don't think Jameson Williams is going to be there. We talked about that a little bit, right, Holden? He's going to be held out, right?
I mean, even if he is in, he's not going to be in a full snap count. Cool. They're not going to just roll him out there.
Just making sure, because once he is back, that's going to change St. Brown's situation. Yes. So just want to double check and make sure.
How much do you think it's going to change his situation? Just taking a couple of targets?
He's not going to get the same volume he's getting. You're not like the other guys are not getting a lot of volume. Like Jameson Williams is a stud. Like DJ Chark is fine, but he ain't a stud. You know what I mean? Like Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yes, he'll still be the slot guy, but I do think it's going to change, at least the volume that he sees. It might not be a ton, but it'll change a little bit just because of Goff and his ADOT too, that he likes to throw to these like shorter passes, and a slot guy makes more sense for that rather than an outside guy. But DK Metcalf, 6'7". I don't need to get to. I think there's other guys in the 7K range that we talked about that I like, and there's some cheaper ones that we're going to get to here. Like Keenan Allen, certainly in the conversation at 6'5". I believe Mike Williams will be missing this week. We always find out on Friday. He didn't practice. I don't think he's going to play. I feel pretty confident in that. So I think Keenan Allen will be someone that pops in projections. Christian Kirk against Detroit. Basically, anyone in Detroit has to be in the conversation. 6'3". Definitely think you want to consider him. If I have to play a Seattle receiver, Lockett would be better at 6K, I think. And then Juju at 5'7" is a really interesting option here. He's someone that can help you get exposure to that Kansas City game. I think Juju is someone that I'm considering in cash games. Palmer, I don't hate, but that's like not someone I'm dying to get to. I think I'd rather go to Keenan Allen if I had to pick. And then there's Garrett Wilson at 5'3". And then this is where Holden, it starts to drop. Right after Garrett Wilson, yes, you could make arguments for some of these guys. Like, yeah, George Pickens against Atlanta. Sure, I don't think it's like the worst idea, but this is where you definitely start to see a significant drop. And I think you want to really live above that range of like 5.3K for your receivers this week. It just seems like it makes a lot of sense. There's a couple guys you can pick out here and there, like Zay Jones. If he ends up playing, he's 4.9K. He was limited in practice. I think he's in the conversation against the Lions. We know it's the Lions. You can always consider we got the Marvin Jones against the Lions, little revenge game at 4K. Or you could punt really, really cheap if you wanted to go all the way to the bottom, just so you can get everything for your full lineup. Maybe get your 2 receiver upgrades to go to a 3.2K receiver. Maybe it's Justin Watson, who's been running the most snaps. Now, it's definitely a lot of exercising out there for the Chiefs is one of the problems. He has not seen the targets that you're hoping, but sometimes when you just punt one spot, it gets you absolutely everything for your team and can work in cash games. So it's something that I'm going to think about and have in the conversation, because I think this game shoots out between Kansas City and the Bengals.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, hit the like button. That'd be wonderful, even if you're not watching us live. Yes, Scary Creations. Chase is a full go. Mangone was just talking about maybe on a snap count, but I'm with you. I think there's been a lot of talk between these two sides this week. Who was it? Justin Reed, the safety, saying, he was talking about T. Higgins, but he called him Hayden Hurst, and then T. Higgins wore a Hurst jersey, and Jamar is calling him a pussy on Twitter, and it should be a fun game, man. This is going to be fun. The rematch. I can't think of a better game this week. Right, Mangone? This is it.
No, there's not. This is the game. This is definitely the game of the week. Now, is it going to be the game that is the best DFS game? I don't know that. I can't tell you that for sure. But if there's one game you told me I could put on an island and watch on Sunday Night Football, and like that's what I gotta watch, I would put that one. I'd be like, I want to watch that game. So, but I'll be watching Red Zone. I'll have the other one of the games on the other TV. Hopefully, it'll be that Bengals one, and should be a fun one to watch for sure.
Do you know how bad the Broncos are? They're so bad that they kicked Mahomes off Sunday Night Football. Like that's how bad they are. They can't.
No, it made sense. Hold.
It is wild.
Of course it did.
Like
I don't want to watch the Broncos on prime time. I want to enjoy myself.
It is wild though how many games they had the Broncos like slated for on prime time. It's like it seems like half their games, and they're got to be like one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, well, they did it. They did it because they thought like they'd be like a huge up and coming team, and Russell Wilson's like a name. Like that's why they did it, and it didn't work out. They made a bet and it backfired on him big time.
So did the Broncos.
Yeah, their bet is going to be one of the worst of all time.
Ain't working out too well for them. Mr. Limited over there. It's not a good scene. So like button to be great. Check out runpuresports.com, Run Pure Bets if you haven't already. Let me just go to the website and see what's up right now, besides for our show, of course. So much going on. If you are into the soccer, into the World Cup, you haven't dipped your toes in the DFS streets, our crew has just been amazing. We've got shippers every single day, it seems like. Stevie Boyton's killing it in college basketball. NHL, our guys in the NHL, NFL, esports, I guess that's the video games. Golf will be back soon. MMA, racing, tennis, everything that you can play DFS for, we have the best analysts for. So check it out.
Holden, don't sleep on the weekends here, okay? NBA weekends have been good. Not just me. I see AP's had some good stuff. We've been crushing it on the weekends in the NBA. So there's just less content out there for the people, Holden. People take days off, and we don't take days off over here from Pure Sports.
See, there's another one. Mangone talking about not taking days off. People take days off. We don't take days off. We do like 4 hours of show Sunday morning, right up to lock too. And then we come back with a Sunday night show. Just so much content. All right, Mangone, this is your big chance. You always take tight end first. Cash games. We don't need to go to Kelsey, do we? We got some good options. Freiermuth. Njoku's out. Just so you know, I don't know if that brings Brian into the conversation for a full punt. I know you loved Kittle earlier in the week at 5K. Talk to me here. Tight end.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't need Kittle or Kelsey, but I would want him. I mean, I probably can't get him though, is the problem. It's the one thing to mention though, at least with tight end, is like you do have to make a debate sometimes, like that, like these tight ends can separate at the position and like really just like totally like get you like 20 points ahead of the field. So like I'll think about it, especially when I see Kelsey in like an elite spot. Like I'll look and be like, hey, like let's say you have AJ Brown in at your receiver spot. Like I'll switch it for Travis Kelsey and see like what's the change, like what's the difference. You know what I mean? Like for instance, like a 2v2 could be like a punt tight end, or you could go like Travis Kelsey and Justin Watson. Obviously, I know they're like anti-correlated in a way, but you get what I'm saying, Hole. Like I think you have to think about it when you have Travis Kelsey in elite spots. Like when he's in these spots, gotta at least entertain it. Now probably won't end up doing it. There's a very low percentage chance, but if you play like multipliers, which those are cash game stuff, right? Or triple ups, and you find a build that you like with Kelsey, you know, don't put them in your 50-50s. Go play the multipliers and triple ups. It's a sharp way to kind of take advantage of the field in that way, if you really have a bet on that. Mark Andrews, 6'6", not that interested in him. TJ Hawkinson, 5.2K. I do love the volume he's seeing. I do think he's a solid, safe option, but I don't want to go to him that much. If I did make a bet at the tight end position here, maybe make a bet on George Kittle. I think this is a Kittle week. Now, I'll probably do that in tournaments. That's probably where I'll make my bet. I doubt I'll do it in cash games, but if the salary's loose enough and I can find my way to get up to Kittle and he's just kind of fall on it, I'm going to be okay with it. In the past weeks, I'd be like, I don't need to do that. I can upgrade other spots and make it work. But I think Kittle's a sick play this week. I feel like I've been very right about him. I think that's definitely the spot for him. So like Kittle at 5K, probably going to play some multipliers and put him in those this week. Gerald Everett, 4.4K. I think he's worth mentioning, but I don't think we want to go there. If we're going to spend our salary, I'd rather spend up for a Kittle. Freiermuth, safe option against Atlanta. We know how bad they are. I don't hate him if you fall on him last piece in. Don't think that's the worst idea. As we get cheaper, Hayden Hurst at 3.5. That is great exposure to this game. I think you're going to see people say Hayden Hurst, or they might go back to Foster Moreau, who's been pretty solid too. But I think Hayden Hurst at 3.5 is currently the guy that I'm kind of keying in on. I think he just makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if you saw the interview with him, Holden, but he basically said to, about Justin Reed talking smack about him. He was like, I'm the last guy to say that to.
Exactly.
So he took it personally, and I like that. So I think I like a guy playing with a little chip on his shoulder. So I like Hayden Hurst at 3.5K. Think he's in the conversation. We got Conklin at 3-1 if you want to punt the position. A little revenge game too with Mike White throwing in the ball. He had 3 targets last week. Got you 8 DK points. I'm not sure how he's going to be with Mike White, but I do know he's had a role all season, right? And he's 3.1K, and he gets to play in a dome against a team that doesn't have a good pass defense. I just think it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Think he's in the conversation. We always said, hey, anyone against the Lions, so Evan Ingram has to be in the conversation. He's been pretty solid most of the season. Yeah, against Baltimore, he had a rough game. Same with Vegas, but he's in the combo. Not saying he'll be the guy I end up going to, but he's in the conversation. Like a lot of these other cheap options. And then if you do have Njoku out, right, Harrison Bryant at 2.7, he's in the conversation because what he does for your full lineup. When you have someone who's 2.7K, he might be the difference to getting that upgrade all the way up to like a Tyreek Hill as that last piece in. And you know what? Tight end, it's a position that you get some duds sometimes, and not sometimes, a lot of the time. And that's why we punt the position, is to be able to get that last piece in to make your full lineup work. So he'll be in the conversation as well. There's a lot of different routes to go with, I think, at tight end this week. It's more viable to go cheaper, though, it seems like. But if we gain more value, which we are going to start gaining more value towards the end of the season with injuries that keep popping up, that's when like these like tight end like spend builds can start to come into play.
So Hoop, that was an extensive breakdown there at tight end. Where do you see yourself going this week?
Most likely cheap, just because I just think that's the optimal route for cash games. Again, unless, the last point Mangone made, we get some insane value at these other positions where we have to play them, and we're looking for a spend. If I can get Travis Kelce, yeah, sure, but probably not likely. I mean, the guys I'm looking at would be Hayden Hurst, Moreau, Pat Freiermuth, Tyler Conklin. It's not clear who the tight end play is this week in cash games, to be honest. It's a position you're probably filling out last, that this and defense. I like TJ Hawkinson, but if I can go almost $2,000 cheaper and get Hayden Hurst, I'm cool with that. The one name that I guess we do need some clarification on is Njoku. Like, if he's going to play, I think he's very strong. He's out, huh? Really?
Yeah, that's
officially
out.
What
I said.
Yeah, that's what Holden said. That's why you have to consider him at 2.7, right? I mean, he's a sick play.
Who's our guy then?
Harrison Bryant,
right?
2.7.
Likely, quote unquote, likely out.
Oh, okay. See, you said out. We got the likely in there. Toss that in. Yeah, Harrison Bryant at 2.7. I mean, this is an offense. They're projected to score. Oh, where was it? I think like the second or third most points this week, the Browns. So getting exposure makes sense. Harrison Bryant, yeah, 2.7K. I could definitely do that. So likely out. Very interesting.
That offense is different. To mention, Watson now being in there will this isn't Jacoby Brissett. And again, you're doing it more because it's 2.7K and it full on punts the position for you. But I am curious to watch and see who's Watson end up starting to throw to, right? At least over these last 6 weeks or so. Does he key in on a certain player? Does he key in on a certain position? Because it's obviously a totally different environment than he was in the past. So that's something to think about. But if you play Harrison Bryant, you're doing it because it gets you Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, right? And you're just absolutely loaded up on top end receivers that can win you a slate.
Yeah. For cash, it's wide open. I mean, it's a wide open position as it stands right now. But again, most likely you are going cheap. The Kittle thing's interesting. Let's say Debo's ruled out, and then they're without Elijah Mitchell, obviously. 5K in a game that's probably competitive. The spread in this game is 3.5. So you're looking at a competitive game that could be high scoring. Just got to see, man. This is probably the toughest position, I think, in terms of cash games, and it's fine. You can fill it out last and just see what you can have access to. But yeah, I mean, if Njoku's out, yeah, they said he wasn't practicing again today. That means he's most likely out. 2.7 full punt, get out of the position. I kind of like how that sounds.
All right, guys, we got through it as always. Check out the content for defenses. Hoop will throw 4 up there. Mangone, of course. Everybody's got their thoughts.
There is not. I just was kind of looking at it for the playbook. There's really not a defense that's standing out either.
For cash.
Yeah, for cash. I mean, sometimes there is. I mean, sometimes you can say, okay, yeah, this is, the real cheap one. I think last week we had a real cheap one that made sense. I don't see that this week.
I mean, if you really wanted to full punt, Titans at 2.2, just hoping they can get to Hurts a couple of times. I don't know about
there's
that.
Steelers 2.6. Jets
Dolphins.
2.6. Yeah, I mean it's wide open there.
It's gross. Yeah, but you're not going to pay up for defense anyways, so not in cash games, right? So we move there. Like button would be wonderful. If you are watching live, let me catch you, or you're watching early on Friday, catch you up on what's coming up. We got Talking Touchdown show coming up at 1 Eastern, spread Tyler Kurt bet show. NBA rundown. We'll look at the first look at the NBA spread Tyler AP. Then it's the Print Factory, the big boys, JSU, Tony, ODB Dunkel running down the week 13 slate. That's a must. That's actually at 3 Eastern. Rundowns 2 Eastern, Print Factory 3 Eastern, Hardwood at 4:45. Get you ready with a free show for the NBA. That's Hoop, JT, and C-Dome. 4 to 5, me, JSU, and Tony, NBA Final Countdown. If you've never checked that show out, it's just about as important as it gets. If you play NBA DFS, the boys drop their cores. We react to news and take your questions, and then the news dump. It'll be me and Crane today. Tambo's on a beach. So what we do on that show at 7 o'clock Eastern, we get you all of the reaction from the injury reports, and we tell you how to adjust that when it comes to your tournaments and your cash games either. So that'll be it. Good to see you, Hoop. Good to see you, Mangone. Helmet, wonderful work today, because when we don't notice you, that means you're doing the best job ever. I'm Holden. Helmet, get us out of here, dude.